Assalamualaikum to our lecturer Dr. Hanis Nadia. We're from Group 4 will presenting to you about foodborne pathogenic in vegetable and fruit. The contents that will be presented are introduction, issues, solution and conclusion. And this is our group members. First, Nur Fatihah binti Marzuki, Nur Hashikin binti Hanafi, Nur Aisyah binti Maknuyah, Putri Nurhani binti Bakri. Nurul Fatah binti Abdul Aziz, Nurin Akilah binti Zulkifli, Muhammad Anas bin Cik Yusof, and last Nur Aisyah Amni binti Mahadi. Now, we will start with the introduction. So first, what is foodborne pathogen? Foodborne pathogens that includes viruses, parasites and bacteria are biological agents that can cause a foodborne illness event. A foodborne disease outbreak is defined as the occurrence of two or more cases of similar illness resulting from the ingestion of a common food. Sometimes, raw fruits and vegetables contain harmful germs that can make humans become sick. CDC estimates that germs on fresh produce cause a large percentage of foodborne illness in the United States. The safest produce is by cooking. Next is wash. There are three most common bacteria in fruits and vegetables. First, Salmonella species, Shigella species, and Listeria monocytogenes.
So let's go through some information regarding Salmonella typhi. So Salmonella typhi is a gram-negative bacteria root-shaped, flagellated, and the causative agent of typhoid fever, and the only receiver for this bacterium is the human body. The lipopolysaccharide antigens O9 and O12 as well as the unique polysaccharide capsulate antigen V are serologically positive for this bacterium. Antigen V negative strain seems to be less contagious and virulent than the positive one. Salmonella typhi has an infection dose that can vary between 1,000 and 1 million organisms in healthy individuals, but it can also be influenced by the host defense mechanisms. So for this bacterium, infections usually caused by the ingestion of food or water that is contaminated with the people's excrements that carry this organism, and whereas these organisms survive the gastric pH barrier in the stomach before adhering to the small intestines. Salmonella makes the periplasmic enzymes that can penetrate plant surface defenses. However, pectin and polygalactorate processing, level of ripening, and serological wounds are necessary for this enzyme to enter plant systems. The latest issue involving Salmonella typhi, according to CDC and FDA, is the multi-state outbreak of human typhoid infections associated with the frozen mammy fruit pulp in 2010. So FDA and CDC already investigated this outbreak, and since 25th May 2010, there have been reports from 2 states of a total of 9 people who have been infected, in which 5 confirmed cases in the California and 2 in Nevada. And the median age is 21 years old, range from 4 to 31 years old. 67% of cases involve women with Hispanic ancestry. 78% of the 9 patients with available clinical data were hospitalized, and 89% said they had not traveled abroad in the 60 days before they becoming ill. So no fatalities linked to this infection have been reported as August 2010. So for the epidemiologic study conducted by the CDC, 78% said they had drank a milkshake or smoothie that contained this frozen mammy fruit pulp, while 71% of the 7 sick people who had eaten this frozen mammy fruit pulp from the Goya brand and 1% from the La Nuestra brand. So out of the 33 healthy individuals, there have been 0% reported having come into contact with this frozen mammoth fruit pulp that conclude that the consumption of this frozen mammoth fruit pulp is the cause of this disease. So these are the signs and symptoms for the Salmonella typhi infections, in which high and persistent fever, headache, constipation, malaise, myalgia, and chills. So if it is left untreated, infections can become more severe and even fatal, and the illness can last for 3 to 4 weeks.
Next, let's take a look at another issue, which is Listeria outbreak in fresh vegetable. First of all, what is Listeria monocytogenes? Listeria monocytogenes is a gram-positive and facultative anaerobe bacterium which can be found in soil, water, decaying vegetables, animal and wet environment. Meanwhile, listeriosis, defined as a serious infection that usually caused by eating food contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes bacteria. People that are infected with listeriosis will have symptoms such as fever, headache, seizures, muscle ache, fatigue, and loss of balance. The first issue regarding Listeria outbreak on fresh vegetable, which 30,000 cases of Listeria contamination in pre-cut vegetables such as onion, mushroom and pepper reported in southern state of United States of America. The location involved are Alabama, Florida, Kentucky and Virginia. Next, 10 people aged 56 to 93 years old suffer food poisoning from a listeriosis outbreak in chopped celery in Texas, United States of America. 5 patients died within 3 months period. The third issue regarding Listeria outbreak is when 84 people become sick and 50 people die during Listeria outbreak associated with chopped and baked romaine lettuce that tested positive with Listeria monocytogenes in USA. The next issue is when 2 men aged around 30 and 42 years old hospitalized and suffered listeriosis after eating enoki mushroom in 2 different states, which are Michigan and Nevada. About 42% of enoki mushroom sampled from South Korea were contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes in 2021.
Hepatitis A virus infection to frozen strawberry seed. Hepatitis A is a contagious liver infection caused by the hepatitis A virus. The hepatitis A virus is spread when someone ingests the virus, usually through close personal contact with an infected person or from eating contaminated food or drink. The hepatitis A virus, HAV, is the cause of hepatitis A, which results in inflammation of the liver cells. In some locations, outbreaks have been linked to eating contaminated raw or improperly cooked shellfish, like oysters, or fresh crops, example berry fruits. HAV or hepatitis A virus can be passed from person to person directly or indirectly through contaminated food, water, or environmental objects. Furthermore, the transmission of HIV may be aided by cross-contamination and inadequate personal hygiene among food workers. The public and the trade are advised to maintain proper hygiene personally and during food preparation to prevent cross-contaminations and to obtain food ingredients from reliable sources. Wash foods with potable water from consumption to reduce the risk of hepatitis A infection. Thorough cooking, wherever applicable, remains the final critical step to destroy the HIV. After the first infection, symptoms normally appear 15 to 50 days later and linger for a few weeks, perhaps longer. Foodborne hepatitis A infection could be prevented effectively. Symptoms of hepatitis A usually appear 2 to 7 weeks after exposure and can include upset stomach, fever, dark urine or light-colored stools, joint pain, diarrhea, and feeling tired. Symptoms also can range from weakness, loss of appetite, nausea, muscle aches, vomiting, and jaundice, which is yellow discoloration of the eyes and skin. Sometimes there are no symptoms, particularly among young children. Hepatitis A-related liver failure and death are extremely uncommon but can occasionally happen in people with pre-existing chronic illnesses, particularly those that have liver-related symptoms. Hepatitis A vaccination is advised. Hepatitis A does not always cause symptoms. Adults are more prone than kids to experience symptoms. Hepatitis A patients may experience symptoms for a few weeks to many months, but they often fully recover and do not suffer permanent liver damage. However, in some instances, the sickness may be so severe that hospitalization is required. Hepatitis A can occasionally result in liver failure and even death. People who are older and those who have other major medical conditions, such as chronic liver disease, are more likely to experience this. How does it spread? When someone consumes bodily waste from an infected person, hepatitis A can be transmitted. Person-to-person contact, including sexual or even innocuous household contact, as well as consuming tainted food and water, are ways that this can happen. The hepatitis A virus is very contagious. Small amounts of phases are all that are required to infect people and create symptoms. If preventive measures are not taken, those who share a home with a person who has hepatitis A are more likely to contract the disease. The virus can last for hours on hands and other surfaces like plates and kitchen equipment. Therefore, it's crucial to make sure that affected individuals thoroughly wash their hands after using the restroom and refrain from handling any food. Hepatitis A infections occur infrequently in Australia, with the number of cases detected dropping profoundly in the last 20 years. Most infections are in people who have traveled in countries where hepatitis A transmission is common due to poor sanitation and lack of access to safe water. When outbreaks happen, they are the result of either person-to-person transmission or tainted food, as we witnessed with the frozen strawberry seeds. Next, I will show some cases related in hepatitis A to the frozen strawberry seed. In 2015, in the first 3 months of 2015, in the other country, the total number of hepatitis A cases reportedly totally increased to almost the same as the annual number recorded previously, which is in New South Wales. After consuming imported frozen strawberry seeds from Coles, hepatitis A has been discovered in 7 patients. The manufacturer of the recalled item did so out of caution, even though it is under investigation. And other than that, in 2022, too, in the United States, a multi-state outbreak of hepatitis A infections connected to frozen strawberry seed was looked by the FDA and CDC and state and local partners. These possibly infected strawberries were purchased between March 5, 2002 and April 15, 2022. They were imported from Baja California, a state in northern Mexico, under the Fresh Campo and HEB brands from the same supplier. So, how hepatitis A to frozen strawberry seed is treated? There are no fresh or Australian-produced frozen strawberries have been related to the current hepatitis A cases, even though this imported frozen strawberries product has been linked to the disease. The strawberries should be thrown away if you can remember what brand, when, or where you bought them, or if you bought them before you froze them. If you recently consumed any of the suspect strawberry seeds and are exhibiting any symptoms, visit your doctor for a blood test. Also, don't forget to wash your hands. CDC recommends that people who purchase fresh organic strawberries and then froze those strawberries for later consumption take the following actions, which is check your freezer for these frozen strawberries. If you freeze them to eat later, do not eat them. Throw away any remaining frozen strawberries that you froze for later consumption. And if you have eaten these frozen strawberries, purchase fresh and later frozen within the last 14 days and are not vaccinated against hepatitis A, contact your local health department or healthcare provider to discuss getting post-exposure prophylaxis, which is hepatitis A vaccine or immune globulin. And getting post-exposure prophylaxis within 14 days of exposure can help to prevent the illness.
Assalamualaikum and hi. So I will continue this presentation by talking about first solution, which is edible coatings and films and lactic acid bacteria in fresh and minimally processed fruits and vegetables. Edible coatings and films are an alternate method for preserving the quality and increasing the shelf life of fresh cut fruits and vegetables. They also help to prevent the colonization of the fruit by human pathogenic bacteria, resulting in better food safety. Edible coatings and films added with bacteriocins are potential natural preservatives for decreasing foodborne pathogens. Furthermore, bacteriocins have been combined with other antimicrobial compounds or stresses to improve their antimicrobial activity against spoiling and pathogenic microbes. Edible antimicrobial coatings are consumed together with the fruit or vegetable that they wrap, while also acting as natural gas exchange barriers between fresh food and the environment. The hurdle technology introduces the combined application of conventional and innovative preservation methods, intending to provide a series of preservative factors, which is hurdles, that microorganisms cannot overcome. The selection and sequencing of hurdles aim to meet safety criteria without affecting food quality or consumer health. To obtain the desired shelf life improvement, some traditional methods such as heat preservation, use of chemicals, for example acidulants, antioxidants, chlorine, antimicrobials, and sanitizers, and low temperature preservation can be effectively applied. So I will explain about conventional hurdle, which is short time heat treatment. This is one of the oldest and most widely used methods of preservation, and it attempts to reduce microbes and inhibit enzyme activity in plant tissues, which is known as blanching step. Short-time hot water treatments are the most common treatments used on fresh cut fruits and vegetables that aim to control the fresh produce surface microflora. Thus, short-time heat treatments are becoming more attractive in the fresh cut produce industry as an effective means of preventing the negative effects of enzymatic browning and alternative to chemical preservation. In addition, chilled storage following treatment is required in fresh cut fruits and vegetables to delay microbial growth and inhibit substantial enzyme activity. Pre-cooling is a popular treatment step because it low cost, simple, and convenience. Lastly, wash water sanitizers are used in the food sector to reduce initial bacterial populations soon after cutting and as a tool to protect quality and increase their shelf life.
The government has urged workers to take typhoid vaccination as mentioned in Regulation 11 of the Food Hygiene Regulation 2009, which is the worker must be medically examined and vaccinated. This action has been taken in order to protect themselves from the disease, especially from Salmonella typhi, which can lead to typhoid fever, and also to reduce the risk of contamination in the industry. There are two types of typhoid vaccine. The first one is inactivated typhoid vaccine and another one is live typhoid vaccine. These two vaccines have their own effectiveness. Usually, for inactivated typhoid vaccine, it can maintain effectiveness for up to 3 years, and after that, revaccination is recommended. But for live typhoid vaccine, it can up to 3 to 7 years. According to Food Hygiene Regulation 2009, the general penalty if any offences made by either the proprietor, owner, the occupier of food premise, food handler, caterers, as well as the person who transport food using the vehicle should be liable to a fine not exceeding 10,000 ringgit or to imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or both. Next is cleaning and sanitizing process. The bacteria may spread around the kitchen and attach themselves to knife, cutting board, and also cutlery. One of the most common way that pathogenic bacteria can spread to fruit and vegetable is through cross-contamination. Therefore, it is very crucial to clean and sanitize all the equipment to prevent cross-contamination. In the cleaning process, the equipment can be scrubbed with warm, soapy water after removing the detachable component and make sure to air dry or pat dry with a clean paper towel. For sanitizing process, we can pour or spray sanitizing solution over surface and wipe them clean with a paper towel. Note that sanitizing is most effective when the surface is already clean.
Next, the solution on behalf of the government is by developing good agricultural practices (GAP). GAP is used as it reduces the spoilage and maintains the shelf life of the food product. One component of GAP is the usage of the fertilizer. It must be utilized in proportion to the competency and also based on nutrient need. For instance, raw manure, which is derived from human waste, cannot be utilized in the cultivation of vegetable as it transmits the human pathogen, and it also consists of bacteria that cause contamination in vegetable, which can lead to human disease. Furthermore, the timing of usage and repetition of application of the fertilizer on the fruit and vegetables must be recorded in order to protect them by avoiding the excessive nutrients of the fertilizer. Next, the harvesting method, where it should be a quick process, thus must lessen the contamination of the vegetables, along with the utilized receptacles during harvesting with the likely contamination sources such as pesticides and microbial pathogens. The vegetables also need to be rapidly pre-cooled after the harvesting process to minimize the spoilage and retain the quality of the product. Other than that, ready-to-eat vegetables such as carrots and tomatoes need to experience a washing method by using potable water in order to wash away the soil or the surface contaminants that can harbor the pathogen. HACCP has a correlation with the foodborne hazards as it is designed to eliminate the potential hazard that can contaminate fruit and vegetables during the handling process. HACCP system includes the description of the product such as its composition, the ingredient in the product, packaging and preservation method. It is vital in determining the recognition of ingredients that increase the possibility of hazards. The intrinsic and extrinsic factors of the fruit and vegetables must be analyzed as it may cause harm to the public. For instance, the availability of seed stones in several fruits can cause intrinsic hazard as it can lead to choking. In this context, the fruit itself can be classified as a hazard. In addition, a monitoring system is initiated in order to ensure that the HACCP system is functionally operated and the food production is safe. It is divided into two parts, which are quantitative method, which is temperature measure, and qualitative method, which is visual perception. The monitoring method in fruit and vegetable is likely to ensure the right amount of pesticides were utilized and implemented along with the precise concentration in order to have an exact pre-harvest interval. The estimation of pesticide residue in crops could be utilized as a monitoring technique to ensure that the control method of right application and the interval of pre-harvest were utilized. This measurement is often handled by the Crop Surveillance Project by the government in order to ensure the maximum residue level (MRL) is not beyond a set limit.
In conclusion, there are several issues that discuss and the solutions for each issue, which are salmonella infection linked to frozen mummy food pulp, listeria infection in fresh vegetables, and hepatitis A virus infection to fresh organic strawberries. The only reservoir of the gram-negative rod-shaped flagellated bacterium Salmonella enterica serova typhus is the human body. Once the bacteria invade the submucosa, they enlarge the Peyer's patches. Environmental factors and agricultural practices are important in determining what makes plants susceptible to salmonella growth, both pre- and post-harvest. Listeria outbreaks can harm both health and the economy. This has been shown to be effective as the washing step can reduce the bacterial load of L. monocytogenes, contaminated lettuce leaves. Hepatitis A is caused by the hepatitis A virus. It is a contagious liver infection. Adults are more prone to symptoms than children. However, in some cases, it can become severe enough to require hospitalization. Hepatitis A virus is highly contagious. Only a small amount of feces is needed to infect humans and cause symptoms. Due to its low cost, simplicity and convenience, pre-cooling is a common processing step used in the fresh food sector. Acting as antioxidants, these preservatives are commonly used to prevent enzymatic browning, limit pigment degradation, and protect against sensory and nutritional loss. Malaysian government take effective measures to prevent the spread of Salmonella typhi on freshly cut fruits and vegetables. One of the Malaysian government's key initiatives to prevent typhoid contamination of fruit and vegetable is to encourage vaccination of workers in the fresh food industry. All kitchen utensils and surfaces such as knives, pots, pans, and cutting boards can be cleaned with water and detergent. Fertilizers should be applied based on nutrient needs according to skill and knowledge.